Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. I, Ria, with my co-host Shubh, extend a warm welcome to you all in this national conference, Atmanirbhar Bharat Industry 4.0, Making India Smart and Intelligent Manufacturing Hub. Your presence has immensely enhanced the ambience of this magnificent auditorium.
It's a humble request to everybody present here to kindly follow all the COVID protocols and also please keep your phones on silent during the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now our pleasure to invite our esteemed panelists to the stage on behalf of everybody sitting here. On that note, I'd be inviting our first guest, Mr. Sunand Sharma, who is a business leader with 40 plus years of experience cutting across government, business, and financial sectors. He also has dealt with the Prime Minister's office, all the major ministries of the Government of India, Government of States of India over the years since 1980s. He was the country president of Alstom India and South Asia and the chairman of boards of Alstom India Limited. Mr. Sharma is also a proud recipient of the highest French civilian distinction, Chevalier de la Légion d'honneur, which means Knight of the Legion Honor in 2016.
Now, we would like to invite our next panelist, Mr. Pranjal Sharma, who is an economic analyst, advisor, and author of two very well-known books named Indian Automated, How the Fourth Industrial Revolution Transforming India, and Kranti Nation, India and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. He has co-founded GoFar Growth Advisory and is a columnist with Business Standard newspaper and Business World magazine, among other publications. Mr. Pranjal received the News Television Award for Best Business Show in 2007. Our next panelist, Mr. Vineet Sahni, is an alumnus of DCE batch 1987 and is presently the CEO of Lumax DK Jan Group. And Senior Executive Director of Lumax Industries Limited. He started his career with Tata Motors and has held various senior positions at the major other players in the auto components industry. He has a rich experience of more than 22 years in the automotive lighting sector and is promoting self-reliance in technology for Indian engineers.
Now, we'd like to welcome Mr. Suman Bose, who is the co-founder at GoFar and SecureFood. GoFar is a growth advisory that aims to meaningfully better the lives of the next billion people globally by leveraging frugal innovation, technology, and a network of partnerships. He has spent over 30 years in executive leadership positions globally with Fortune 100 companies.
Our next panelist, Dr. S.K. Chaudhary, has worked as a chairman and managing director of IRCON International Limited. Also, he's an alumnus of DCE batch 1982. He has over 39 years of experience in the field of various infrastructure projects. Dr. Chaudhary is a recipient of various awards and honors and has been recognized for rendering exemplary services in the field of construction, engineering, and technology.
Now, I'd like to welcome Mr. Anil Kakkar, who is the CIO at Escorts Limited and has over 21 years of IT leadership experience. He has a consistent track record of driving increased productivity as well as profits. He has also established a digital roadmap focusing customers, suppliers, and employee to fully transform technology stack growth.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite here at stage the office bearers of DMA and DTU-DCE Fraternity Forum, Dr. Yogesh Mishra, President of DMA and Vice President of Thomas Assessment. Dr. Navneet Kumar Sharma, IRSS, Chairperson of Government Industry and Academia Interface Committee, and DMA and founder and president of DTU-DCE Fraternity Forum. And Mr. Rajan Pandey, director of DMA.
Before we move ahead with the proceedings, we'd like to extend a warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here, and I'd request Hardik, Mansi, Tanmay, and Dipanji to please do the honors.
बता दूंगी. Now, moving on, we'll have a traditional auspicious lamp lighting ceremony as a tribute to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. To begin this conference, we are pleased to invite Dr. Yogesh Mishra for welcome address.
On behalf of DMA as the president, it's my honor and privilege to welcome all of you. This is the first physical event that we are having after a long time, and I must thank all of you for coming and gracing. So I'd like to start by thanking all the eminent panelists who are there, Mr. Sunand Sharma, Mr. Pranjal Sharma, Mr. Vineet Sahni, Mr. Suman Bose, Mr. S.K. Chaudhary, and Mr. Anil Kakkar. And obviously, Dr. Navneet Sharma, who's here. So a quick background, because this is a DTU-DCE DMA event. On behalf of DMA, let me give you a brief history of DMA. DMA is a very old organization. It's a legacy organization. We have a 65-year-old history. We started way back in 1955. Dr. Charatram was our first president. We have got many firsts to our credit. So this event goes a long way in getting the youngsters over here. Now, when I looked at this event, Atmanirbhar Bharat, Industry 4.0, Making India Smart and Intelligent Manufacturing Hub, the first thing that came to my mind was a lecture given by one of my professors, Dr. Dholakia at IIM Ahmedabad. So, you know, this Atmanirbhar, when you look at the Hindi translation, it can mean two things, if you typically see. So, okay, let's look at, not many of you would be conversant in Hindi. I know generations have changed. But typically, this can mean self-sufficient, and it can also mean self-reliant. Can anybody, some of the youngsters, explain to me what is the difference between self-sufficient and self-reliant? Anybody? Okay. So the professor gave an example, and he said that there is a saying in Hindi, "Jitni badi chadar utne paun pasaro." He says that's the old thing, being self-sufficient. Typical, that used to be our Indian mentality, very apologetic, saying, yeah, we have been under the British for so long, etc. But he said, no, the new thing should be, if I am tall, chadar badhao. So self-sufficient means I will consume what I can produce, versus the new Atmanirbhar given by the Honorable Prime Minister, which means does not matter. I will increase my capabilities. So this is one of the thoughts that I want to leave you with. The other thing, which when we look at Industry 4.0, and I'm not going to give you history starting from the steam engine, etc., but all of you look at how connected things have become. Even in a personal life, I know everything is connected. My son, you know, what he did was he got my Apple Watch, and that was connected to the family. So now he exactly knows where I am. Now, in terms of industry, what it means is that your industry would be vertically, horizontally connected. We'll have experts who will talk about Internet of Things. We'll have experts who will talk about machine learning, etc. So I personally am looking forward to this exciting session, and I'm sure all members, participants, and the youngsters would benefit from it. Once again, I'd like to thank all the dignitaries who are there and all the participants, and I wish a great success to this conference. Thank you very much.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor to invite Dr. Navneet Kumar Sharma for a conference review and to deliver the opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. And as Dr. Mishra told, this is the first physical event we are doing on behalf of DMA and DTU-DCE Fraternity Forum. And we have a very extremely eminent panel today to discuss the topic of our conference today, Atmanirbhar Bharat, making India intelligent and smart manufacturing hub. So, as you may be aware, this clarion call was given by our Prime Minister on 12th of May 2020 to kickstart the Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. He gave 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which are economy, infrastructure, system, vibrant demography, and demand. Now, Industry 4 is also known as Industrial Internet of Things, where things are connected. The machines get connected, the efficiency of the production as well as cost efficiency improves. So, India should not miss this revolution, which is taking place in the manufacturing sector. In this smart manufacturing and intelligent manufacturing, we make use of artificial intelligence, we make use of machine learning, big data, digital technology, 3D printing, and which eminent panelists will be telling in detail. Now, today's conference is an attempt to gain an insight into the forays of Indian industry that has been made in the latest phase of this industrial revolution. And it has got potential to catapult India into the big league and become a global manufacturing hub to cater to the requirements of international supply chains. Today, we have amidst us stalwarts from Indian industry who in the upcoming panel discussion will share their varied and rich experience to enlighten us on this connection of physical with digital through Industry 4 and how it can empower businesses to enhance productivity, improve processes, and drive growth. I'm quite hopeful this conference will leave us richer with multitude of ideas and concepts for realizing the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I sincerely wish this conference a very great success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will now be handing over the proceedings to Mr. Pranjal Sharma for moderating the panel discussion.
So, good afternoon and good morning. Actually, we are close to afternoon, so it must be good afternoon somewhere. But good morning to all of you. It's a very exciting time to be a student, a professional, and an entrepreneur in India. The center of gravity for the global economy has definitely shifted to Asia, and India is leading the pace. And I often tell everybody, and all of you must remember, that India is the world's largest open market democracy, which is now so infused with technology that nearly every sector, in the government and the private, is now being driven by latest technologies. A lot of this is happening at different pace. Each sector is moving at its own pace. But I think what I'll request our panelists here to do is to talk about their experience and also give some guidance to many of you who are studying or want to be entrepreneurs on how you should prepare for this age of the fourth industrial revolution. So I'm going to begin by requesting Sunand to share his thoughts and also talk about what he has learned from his experience. And you know, when he started his career in the 80s to now, there's a sea change. So Sunand, maybe you can tell us a little bit more.
Good morning, everybody. And as Dr. Sharma said, it's the first physical meeting after a long time, and it's wonderful to see everybody in person and have everybody around physically and have this interaction. I'll open by saying I wish I was 30 to 40 years younger than what I am today, and somehow rewind and come back to the lives you guys are going to be living now. I mean, the India which is being delivered to you by the people who went before you, with everything happening at terrific speed, at the speed of light almost, versus the gumminess which we used to suffer from. And I come from a background where it was the earliest of early Indian industrialization. Actually, I'll make a correction to something which Pranjal said, which is which puts a bigger date on me, which is 1972 is when I started working in a tire company in Haryana in Ballabgarh, believe it or not. Now, I won't take too much time. I'll just make some 3 or 4 quick comments. But before I do that, you have to understand somewhere from where I'm coming. I'm coming from a period when India had been declared totally socialist, completely controlled. The temples of all industry were government-owned. Heavy engineering was completely banned in the hands of private sector. Computer was an alien animal. And anything I needed to do, the 2 words I learned as a startup, starting my career was, government will allow you, government will permit you. If you don't have a government permission or government hasn't allowed you, stay still. That's where I came from, in everything I did. Now gradually all that began to change. Fast forward, the so-called 1990s, but there were things which were happening not in the 1990s, which were beginning to happen earlier. So just to wrap up on what I did. Built a tire factory, lead acid storage batteries factory, transferred technology of aircraft engines to HAL and Aeronautical Development Authority, set up a joint venture with Wipro for medical diagnostics, set up a power plant manufacturing for nuclear, hydro, steam, locomotives in railways, and metro coaches, all in this wrapped up period. And just for fun also did telecom, established Nokia in India. Now, today, why is it that the question still remains, and maybe Pranjal has answered that in the book I'm definitely going to read. Why is it that we still lag in becoming an industrial leader of the world? And what is it that you guys should be thinking about as making your choices? Because that's what I think the topic is about, and the majority of the people here are the ones who have either just about commenced their careers or about to continue developing their careers. And here it is. I will skip a lot of the notes I made, and I will skip straight to the core of the matter. I will talk about risk, failure, money availability, fear, these kind of things, coupled with innovation, inventiveness, ideas, because the most leading nation of the world, which even today is the leading nation of the world in innovation, is the United States of America. The top 7 Forbes or Fortune 500 companies are still American. China is catching up, but it is not there yet. No one is there yet. What prevents you, as you launch on your careers, as you launch on what you're doing, to hop, skip, and jump into the future? What are the fears you have? What are the travails you have? What is it that holds you back when you have an idea? I'll just leave 2 things more with you. When you have time, get on the internet, go study about a young company in the UK called Arrival, simply Arrival. it is actually led by an Indian origin person. See what they've invented in electric vehicles and utilizing composite fabrics for making buses and vans. And it all emerged out of an idea sitting over a cup of coffee. I can't reveal too much, but I'm involved in many such things which are happening with young people in India even today. And I think this whole thing about, beta naukri lagi nahi lagi, beti teri position kya hai, acha, tera rank kya aaya, all that is fun up to a point. It's okay. But beyond that, if you've gone through the rigor of 12 years of school, 5 to 7 years of engineering studies, and then probably picked up a qualification in management and business administration and learnt everything you need to know about writing code, then what is it that is preventing you? Why do you need jobs? Go create businesses, for crying out loud. There has never been a better moment in history than now, when there are people who are actually investing in people who make losses. Think about the unicorns being created in India. I mean, if 100% of the people I'm talking to now, each of you became a unicorn, I'll be clapping in the shadows, definitely. I don't want you to get jobs. I want you to be creative. I want you to write the history of the next intelligent manufacturing hub of India. I will tell you another thing from personal experience. I have never met better engineers and better people on the operating shop floors than Indians. Now, I'm not saying it ki mera Bharat Mahan. I'm not the kind of person who will just give kudos for the sake of the audience. No, 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 no. I've had my German, Swiss, and British and other colleagues tell me, this is a genius you sent to us for the shop floor in France. This person is now running a factory in Brazil. This person is doing that, etc., etc. And honestly, I tell you, I mean, I have to reveal a number. I must have invested, through my companies, must have invested close to 10 or 12,000 crores in new factories in India. Foreign companies, you know, GE and Alstom, for example. And I tell you, since I was chairman, I had to read all the numbers anyway. And I can tell you two bookends. A, identical factory in China, built in India, we were making it cheaper in India. The Indian locomotive being supplied to Indian railways is cheaper than an identical locomotive made in China for China Railway. Right? That's true. Right? I mean, I've got Mr. Railway sitting here. Then, we built a factory in southern India to make metro coaches for Chennai Metro. As the Indian ordering became a little slow, guess where we supplied those competitively to from there? We didn't plan it. Sydney and Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, same quality and cheaper. Nuclear power plants cheaper. Hydro power plants cheaper. But without compromising on quality. And I don't want to carry on too much because everybody else has a lot of things to say. I think I've communicated what I had to communicate. Pranjal, have I communicated?
A lot. Thank you so much.
Okay, now one last thing I have to say. Just by chance, I said hello to a couple of engineers. One of them happens to be a civil engineer, and that person will know who I'm talking about. The one thing I discovered in my entire career, honestly, and this is the truth, the lack of civil engineering skills in a country where civil engineering was at the peak with Roorkee, with Gindi, with all these other colleges, McLagan in Lahore, etc., etc. And I don't know where civil engineering went. But please remember, all of you, that you cannot proceed in construction without civil engineering. Look at the lakhs of crores required to be spent now on new metros, new railways, new roads, new buildings, and a complete modification of how we construct our homes. We construct our homes in the 19th century pattern. We need modern homes. We need modern, completely energy efficient places. Civil engineers, electrical, all of you combined can do it. I mean, I could carry on and on and on. I think I'm going to stop, otherwise Pranjal is going to kick me off. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I was going to invite Dr. Chaudhary to share his views, especially because Sunand referred to a lot about the government, and Dr. Chaudhary, with his deep experience in the government and running a government-owned professional company, would share his thoughts about how technology is now being developed and deployed in the government sector. Dr. Chaudhary, over to you.
Good morning to all of you. Mr. Sunand has widely given the various thoughts to you in the mind, which are completely correct in today's world. That we need more entrepreneurs. Government cannot produce that much of jobs. Government is going to privatize many, many things. And certainly, after a certain time, in government organizations become inefficient in production, inefficient in working, and private, since they can bring modern technology very fast. So this keeps on changing. This is a cycle of life, that sometimes you feel that government is good, you make them as a nationalized companies, and then you privatize those companies to bring them new technologies. Construction, as he rightly said, I come from an organization which is widely doing constructions of infrastructure sector. In construction also, we find that machines and are doing lot of jobs now, which previously manpower used to do. So production has increased. That's why you see that speed of construction, particularly in roads, have gone very fast. And similarly, in building constructions also, new technologies are being are coming to the country. Say my-one shuttering, with which you can make the houses very fast. Industry 4 also, IRCON has made modern rail coach factory. The 2 coach factories have been made by IRCON. One is in Kapurthala, RCF, and second is in Raebareli. So Raebareli coach factory, when it was made, was for a production of 1,000 coaches per year. Now we have established Industry 4 completely in this coach factory, and it was from concept to commissioning which IRCON did the work. And I'm proud to say that now we are able to produce around 1,800 coaches per year with the same capacity. So there are challenges. Challenges are there that when the manpower of Indian Railways were being used for production of these coaches, they were not trained to use the robotics and other modern machines. They were supposed to send for training. So systems, government systems sometimes are like that, that since the coach factory is in production from last 4 years, almost 5 years now, the people could not go for training because the system, the file keeps on moving. That is why sometimes we feel that we have set up the infrastructure, it should be privatized. As you might have recently seen that all the ordnance factories have been made as a public sector units. 7 public sector units have been made. And these units will be working like a corporate now, where the private investment will come in partnership, and these production factories will produce arms and ammunition for and various other things for our military services. Same thing is happening in case of railways, where we have a production units. We are having coaches, engines, and workshops. These are also going to be put into the some corporation mode, PSUs, and then they will also be privatized. So that is the only way you can do. The manpower which we recruited long back, Indian Railways is having around 12 lakhs of employees who are working. This much is not required, because you cannot sustain the salaries and the pension bills of these employees who are getting retired, and pension is increasing more than the salary sometimes. So there is a need of the hour that more and more people get trained into the machine learnings, where machines do the work, and everything is controlled by Internet of Things. I visited a plant in China, and I was surprised to see a command and control center when they told me that all the schooling units in the malls and other places which have been supplied by China are controlled from there. So they can raise the temperature, they can do everything by sitting that place only. So that is how the things are moving in that direction. Even in construction, the machines now, there are so many equipments which have come, which you put on the machines, they will make that how much speed you can run those machines, how much leveling can be done. You can save, you can increase the output, you can reduce your expenditure of fuel. Same thing as 3D printing. The houses have been started getting printed by 3D. So you will find in construction that new technology in houses will come where 3D, of course, within next, it will take some time, but already it has started outside. But in mass production basis, it will be somewhere after 10 years, you will find that it has come. That you are finding that all the 3D houses are getting printed. So things are changing very fast. As you sleep over the night, every day some changes are coming up. Technology is catching, and there's a phase of technology now. And as he rightly said that even the Zomato, which was making a losses, was oversubscribed so much. So the companies which are making losses, but there is a future revenue which you see that how you can integrate the things and you can do that. In our batch, there are a lot of entrepreneurs in 82 who has done a marvelous creations of big companies in India, and they have been listed on various stock exchanges, and big companies have taken the part. You might be aware of our juniors, Paytm fellow, Vijay Shekhar Sharma, then Big Basket, and many companies are like that, who are doing these kind of things. So I wish that with this forum where you are there and the experience of the persons who are on the dais, who are from private industry, you should be in touch with them. They can guide you a lot in setup and in getting the meeting fixed with various fellows for doing the startups, where Government of India is giving lot of facilities, loans and other things in startup. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. And I must say that leaders like you have ensured that we have self-reliance in critical infrastructure, especially in transport sector of domestic manufacturing. And we must remember that a lot of people want India to be only a market of consumers, but we have to be producers as well. And I think the public sector giants in the country have ensured that we've always been self-reliant in many sectors. I think it needs to be increased. I'm going to now request Vineet to talk about the technology and the new efforts and initiatives at his group that he has been leading. And it will also give you a sense of what you need to do to understand what is being currently deployed in companies and in factories, because that will help you understand what you need to do to step up as a potential employee or as a potential entrepreneur. Vineet, over to you.
Thank you, Pranjal. Good morning, all of you. 30-second introduction. I run a group with 33 locations, 10,000 people, and have experience of merger and acquisition, which is global. And I've dealt with almost all nationalities in my career, but I would also like to say I'm part of the same curve where you are. Nothing great about it. You could be higher because I am elder to you. That's it. That's it. I was born earlier. That's it. One big learning. We are no less as engineers. I have dealt with almost all nationality engineers. You, I, we are no less. And I will give you some examples when we have time, why I say so. I have been promoting self-reliance in the country and in my own organizations. Before I start, look at the strength of our culture. We started with Saraswati Vandana, and we are discussing Industry 4.0. That is the span that we deal with, the culture and the technology. A quick question. I go straight to the depth of the subject. Why do you need Industry 4.0? Why? And I would like, if you can interact, it will be fun. I mean, you don't need a mic, just you can get up. Why do you need Industry 4.0? Anybody sitting on the third row? All right, that's a good point. So let's keep it very simple. It's the requirement of we as consumer. We are also consumer. हम लोग भी गाड़ी खरीदते हैं. हम लोग भी we buy products. We buy fridge. We buy a refrigerator. We want zero defect. Yes? So it is the quality that you need. Second, you want at the right price. Yes? So it is the productivity that you need. How do we get it? We will get it by eliminating certain wastes in the manufacturing system. And where are those wastes? Those wastes lie, there are 16 categories, it's defined, but I'll touch few of them. The waste could be waiting time of a material, the waste could be breakdown of a machine, the waste could be absence of manpower. These are all the wastes that go into a manufacturing system. If we were to make it automated, if we can make machines to communicate with each other, अगर मशीनें एक दूसरे से बात करने लग जाएं, तो ये waste धीरे धीरे खत्म होना शुरू हो जाएगा. For example, if a molding machine, it creates a part, the signal goes to the trolley or a robo, it picks up the part, and the automated guided vehicle takes that part to the assembly line, and the assembly happens. In the conventional system, the part could be lying at the machine and waiting for a person to come down who has gone to have a cup of tea, right? Machines don't have to take break for lunch or tea, yeah? So how do we make it happen? You need to make machines intelligent and talk to each other. Machines were intelligent before. That is Industry 3, Industrial Revolution number 3. That was computers. Machines became intelligent. Before that, if we go to Industrial Revolution 2, it was assembly lines. And before that, Industrial Revolution, when it started, it was steam engine. So once we made machines intelligent, we wanted machines to talk to each other, like we talk to each other. The basic of humanity, we talk and we communicate to each other. And again, I'll repeat the basic principle. Communication is what is understood. मैं यहाँ खड़े होके कुछ भी बोलता जाऊँ, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आपको क्या समझ में आ रहा है, that is communication. Communication is what you understand, right? And the best communication is if what I want to communicate is equal to your understanding. That's the best communication. So when machines talk to each other, the algorithm is made like that they understand each other and act. That comes the decision making. Then comes the machine learning. So in which direction are we moving? I think all of you know about it, artificial intelligence, where machines are intelligent enough to take decisions which a human being takes. And what is the next step after artificial intelligence? It is augmented human beings. We and the machine, they become one. This will happen. This will happen. Already, there is a research going on where you need not type or speak to send a text. You think and the text will go. Well, ultimately, your brain is having impulses which are getting captured into digital media. So this is the way the technology is moving. Now, to give you an example on the speed, I think a lot was discussed on the speed. Some of you, I'm sure not all of you, did you see the button phones that used to be there earlier? किसी के घर में कोई एंटीक वगैरह होगा. It took 75 years to reach telephone to 10 crore people. 75 years from the day it started. It took 7 years for internet, World Wide Web, जो हम कहते हैं internet, to reach to 10 crore people. It took 4 years for Facebook to reach 10 crore subscriber. It took 2 years for Insta to reach 10 crore subscriber. And 1 year for Pokemon. You know Pokemon? Right. Less than a year, Pokemon was with 10 crore subscribers. This is the speed of the change that is happening. Why I brought this up is linked to you. What is the challenge that I see, I or anybody would see? See, ultimately, machine manufacturing and the system is as good as the brain behind it. It is said that for a good photograph, it is the man behind the camera. It is you. The major challenge is the skill. And I am dividing skill into 2 parts. The hard skill you can acquire through education in your engineering institute, in any other course. There are soft skills which are to be acquired to be ready to implement these things. And apart from this is your inner passion. I don't know how many of you would understand, but without passion, things won't happen. It is important to have the passion to bring the change, and the medium of change is available to you. Industry 4.0 is available to you. In India, we are at a nascent stage. I am also doing an experiment in one of our Gujarat plant. It is already around 2 years because we lost some time in COVID conditions. But it has taken 2 years to reach to a level which is still not okay with me, but we are at 50% of where we want to be. Because ultimately, there are two things. One, capturing of the right data. That can happen. You can have sensors, you can have algorithms, you can have scanners. Analyzing that data and improving the process is the man's brain, your brain. In this room, there is a data which is invisible, is the big data. उस डेटा को एनालाइज करके उसका निचोड़ निकाल के उसको डिसीजन लेना इम्प्रूवमेंट के लिए, दैट इज वेयर योर एंड माई कैपेबिलिटी विल कम इन. एंड दिस इज वॉट वी नीड टू फॉलो, एंड दैट इज द चैलेंज. टेक्नोलॉजी इज देयर, but to implement the technology, you need the right passion in the brain, which is you, right? So these are just in short. Any questions, we'll handle it later. Thank you so much for patient listening.
Thank you. Vineet, I think you took us through a swath of subjects from culture and Saraswati Puja to technology and to personal growth and development with passion. But you mentioned something very critical, and I'm going to request Suman to talk about it, is that manufacturing is today not pure physical. There is a strong digital component to it. And I learned something from Suman about this, was the concept of phygital. I don't know how many of you know, but Suman was the head of Siemens Industrial Software. He's worked in physical manufacturing, phygital manufacturing. And Suman, I think if you can share what's going on over there and why it's important for students to know, it'll be wonderful for them to understand.
Sure, Pranjal. Thanks. Well, I think Pranjal has given this angle of, and I think that's what Vineet also alluded to when he spoke about the intelligence of machines, or the intelligence of humans and machines coming together. So effectively, if you see, a very simple way of understanding the current form that we are in, it's very difficult for anyone to say which part of the existence is more important. Obviously, life and death are defined by physical limitations still. But for example, the machines that works in our bodies to keep us alive, whether it's a simple thing like a pacemaker, invented maybe 70 years back, to things like brain impulse situations which are bringing back people from deep coma into standard life by recreating synapses. So what we are essentially talking about is a life where we are, I mean, another example, Vineet spoke about, don't look at the phone. Many people have actually anxiety disorder if the phone is taken away from them. In fact, being grounded earlier in the US meant that your car keys were taken away. Nowadays, being grounded means your phones is taken away. And that's a bigger being grounded, that you don't have an access to phone. Because you're, in the life that we are living in, and Pranjal used the word, which I started coining it about 10, 15 years back, when I used to live in, and I saw the early vestiges of this in living in Europe, was this thing called phygital. That there is a physical digital interlace, which is, sorry, there's this physical digital interlace, which is so intriguing to see how it works. So I'll give you a little bit of an example, a few examples for your imagination to start coming up. So the age of computers, which is considered to be the third industrial revolution, is when data was structured. Data got structured, so you got information. That was the information age. So you created MISs, management information systems, decision support systems. So you had information streaming in which you could take, analyze, and take decisions. And hopefully better decisions because you had better information. Now what we are talking about is an information giving context to the information. And that context to the information gets you to a stage called knowledge. So the economy that we are living in, Industry 4.0, is leading into knowledge. And knowledge is not possible today anymore. No matter what we say, knowledge is not possible anymore unless it is phygital. And I'll give you an example. So the current world, for example, that we are living in is mostly older and it's urban-centric. But statistics don't make life go round, right? Statistics is only one part of looking at how things work or doesn't work. So earlier, when the person became older, the ability of the person, for example, just to commute became more and more difficult. The person had to depend on somebody, a caregiver, a driver, etc. So fast forward maybe another few more years, driverless cars, which is already becoming a reality in many parts of the world, or driverless transportation, etc., has suddenly completely made that person far more mobile and therefore, hopefully, far more productive. Now, this dependence of life very soon is going to become the dependence of that person's reason to live. It's no more a fancy that I'm going to get into a driverless car and be able to go and see my children or able to go into the shop. I can now pre-order things in a shop, get into my driverless car, pick up, and my fridge knows if I've forgotten something, or because the fridge is communicating with me and my mobile phone and to my shop to say, you have forgotten your milk, pick it up, or your cheese has gone bad, pick up the cheese. Now this is not far away. This is all happening today. The question is industrial scale, and what does it mean for all of us? First, I'll say the industrial scale. Industrial scale, Vineet spoke about the time it took to do 10 crores. The same thing is happening to the Moore's law is happening in everything, in the price. Today, just think about when I grew up, the best example of knowledge that could be at home was a set of Encyclopedia Britannica, right? And Encyclopedia Britannica, if anybody had the luxury of having an Encyclopedia Britannica at home, it would typically those days cost about, I think, 14,000 rupees, which was a princely sum of money, 14,000 rupees in the 70s and 80s. Today, this phone has more than Britannica. By the way, it is also your travel companion, it is also your bank, it is also your everything. Everything you can think about. That's the reason we have a performance anxiety, or we have a personal anxiety more than anything else that we can't live without if the phone is taken away, or when people get hooked to the charger to charge their phones. Similarly, so the time dropping sharply, exponentially, cost dropping sharply and exponentially, will soon get into a situation where it is easier not to do a job because doing that job is more time consuming and more expensive. I mean, why would I remember a phone number? How many phone numbers do you remember? Frankly speaking, I don't even remember, I have two phones, I don't even remember my second phone's number. Most of us will possibly not remember more than 2 to 3 phone numbers because it's a waste of time. I have it over here, why should I remember the phone numbers? But if you go back 20 years back, most of us remembered at least 20 numbers. We remember our parents' numbers, we remember our kids' numbers, we remembered a few important friends' numbers, our office numbers, home number. We don't have it, right? So things that you consider that you cannot do without will become useless because it's not important anymore. It's far easier and cheaper to do it through a machine. And that machine is now your personal interface. You can't call this a machine anymore. This is an extension of my hand. This is an extension of my finger. It is not a machine anymore in reality. Similarly, a car is not a machine anymore. A car is an extension of my drawing room. It's an extension of my workroom. I get into the car and I'm taking a call. It starts in my house. I get into the car. My call continues. The call just switches off to my car radio, and I'm still on the call. So I'm that productive. If I have the luxury of being today driven by a driver, tomorrow it's a driverless car. I'm productive. I can be doing infotainment. I can be sleeping. I can do anything I want in the car. Because then my car is an extension. So tomorrow's car, by the way, will not look nothing like what it looks today. Depending upon what you're using it for, it will be an extension of either of your living room or your office room or your bedroom. So this is the phygital part of the world. And Now let's look at the opportunity. The phygital part of the world, as I said, has to live on knowledge. And putting context, if you start putting, so it took about 25 years of the world to put structure to data. Data was all available. Mortality rate, infanticide rate, birth rate, death rate, urban, all data was available, but it was not connected. It took time to go and find data. Because they were in files, they were in physical files. Even if they were digitized, they were in floppy drives. The floppy drives were stored away. The floppy wouldn't work. It took time for the LANs and the WANs and the early days of WWW, the internet, to connect the data and to give you, through a structure. Database is a perfect example of a structure. The structured databases, today we're talking about flat structured databases. You had different ways of looking at data before. The metadata vis-a-vis the original data. What did it did? It allowed you to start looking at things from multiple perspectives. That was the information age. Today in the knowledge age, the contextualization of the data is a huge opportunity. The data can be anywhere in the world, but the data needs to be contextualized. So first of all, I think the biggest opportunity that comes in India because of the resources that we have, and even if I say that the 2% of the Indians are really globally capable to do that, that 2% is a huge number. That 2% might be more than the number of engineers graduating in Western Europe every year. So contextualizing global data so that the world can live on move from an information age to a knowledge age is a huge opportunity for India. And that I believe is the biggest global factory opportunity for India. So you want to reduce carbon footprint in America, you want to start switching on and off dynamically your solar and your bio plants, you need the context. The context can be getting done out of Lucknow. So you're part of that global plant that's operating in Oklahoma. You want a captain-less or a rudderless ship with rudder, right? Not the physical rudder. Let's ship moving into in the North Sea because it's extremely cold and you don't want to have exposed people on it. That ship might be navigated out of Pune. And I know, for example, a company which is working on technologies in this area. So I believe that India's biggest opportunity at this point of time, given where we are, and that's a low-hanging fruit, is to latch on to, just like whether we planned it or didn't plan it, with Y2K, we latched onto the whole information age, digitalizing, and we got into this paradigm of global IT back office. Still not innovation, still not front office, but the global IT back office. A lot of that can now move into the front because we can start putting in the context to that information and become that golden thread that the world will run on, whether you're producing it in China, whether you're driving a car in Mid-Sahara. That's the first opportunity. Huge opportunity. And it's a very value-added opportunity. Second opportunity is the country itself. If you just take this country, shut its doors, 1.x billion people, 1.3 billion people, 1.2 billion people, 1.5 billion people in the future will have to get up, and they're aspiring for certain minimum, forget lifestyle, certain minimum necessities. We need to stop, for example, wasting food. We waste more food, and if 1/3 of that food could have been saved, the world hunger would have been over. World hunger. And by the way, India, despite producing 3rd or the 4th largest food producer in the world, is 97th on the global hunger index. This is a low-hanging fruit. This is where the civil engineer that Sunand alluded to must work with the chemical engineer, must work with the electrical engineer, and you don't need software for this. Because that software is already available. It is enough software has been written, which you can go, if any of you are interested in coding, you can go to the GitHubs, you can pick up enough software. Enough open source software has been written. But what you need is hardcore understanding of the problem, the engineering context to the problem, stitching in the problem together, and boom, you save a life. Because that child in an interior village in West Bengal suddenly gets food. I think this opportunity of our consumer-centric opportunity and a global opportunity, the global local opportunity of bringing in context of knowledge and driving and being a part of the center of the world, as far as if China became the center of the manufacturing, nothing stops us. In fact, you don't even need roads. We will need roads, we will build those roads, we will need those great electric trains and all that, but all that you need now is an internet connection at home, and we could be part of the global manufacturing right now, today, right now. We could be part of the global manufacturing. It just needs imagination, and it needs that entrepreneurship that we spoke about. With that, I think I have put in my context to the space of the digital.
Thank you, Suman. And Suman brings, and like Sunny, Sunand, Suman and Sunand both bring a fantastic combination of global experience and Indian practical experience together. I'm going to request Anil Kakkar to now share his thoughts and also tell us about what is the kind of technologies and the new experiments and initiatives in his group, because you only learn from what has actually happened on the ground, not just theoretical, but really practical experience. Anil, over to you. And after that, I'll request all of you to, we'll have about 10 minutes for question and answer. So if you have questions, please be prepared with these questions. The panelists will be happy to answer those. I'll request the DMA team to move some mics into the audience so that we are prepared and we don't waste any time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hope you might have heard all veterans over here, but I may talk about little more practical things which we are applying in our industry. So first of all, I want to start with a statement which I was reading in a book. Technology is commodity these days, if not being used in a business context. So hope I'm visible, audible now. Yeah, perfect. So I was saying that technology is commodity if not being used for the business context. So keeping that in mind, when I was driving the digital roadmap for the group, so intent was multifold. As Suman was rightly mentioning, twofold approach we need to opt, digital and digitization. So digital means that how we are building more platforms to increase the reach to the customers, and how we are digitizing organization to make healthy and more productive. So of course, since the topic is digitization and how we are digitizing our company to increase the productivity at the show floor, what kind of initiative we had taken so that it will help operators on the machine and also improve the productivity. So the 5 agendas I am driving, of course, when we talk about to make the organization healthy, how we are transforming the support organizations like finance, HR, other departments. And the second is how we are digitizing supply chain, because supply chain is the biggest challenge, as everybody talked about here, from end-to-end visibility. So we don't know what is coming and how we are consuming in or on the show floor and how we are producing. So that is one, the supply chain. The third is the R&D, because the R&D also needs to produce a lot of new age digital products. As Suman talked about that autonomous cars. So how we are making all electric cars, how we are making more autonomous cars, driverless cars. So of course, a lot of technology needs to be used underneath to make this product enable. So that is second pillar which we are talking about. The final is the digital platforms. On the digital platform, what we are saying, how we are increasing the reach of customer, because these days the options are so much for the customer. So how we are improving the services to them, how we are improving the reach to them to improve the customer experience. So this is how we had laid out the complete roadmap, digital and digitization. And when we talk about Industry 4.0, how we need to lay down the complete structure to automate my machines, IoT, of course, because we had a lot of old machines, we need to enable sensors, right? So sensors will give you data, as Suman was mentioning about the structure data, and also because the legacy data we do have in the registers, how to make those data enable to do the predictive analytics for the machines to predict whether machine can go, what it is producing for us. So end-to-end visibility for the machines, for manpower and material. So these are the 3 layers for Industry 4.0 for us. The biggest challenge which as industry facing the skilled people, the person who may be able to handle the technology, right? So able to implement how we should opt the technology for the business context. So that is the start from a technology commodity to the business context, enabling the digital roadmap. And first thing I want to say, the courage to opt the technology. Because when we are driving any technology, generally facing problem to drive the return of investments, return on investments of, for example, how much we are investing on technology, how we are bringing the investment back to the business. So these are the 3-4 pillars on which we are driving the complete digital roadmap. And the people like you, the new generation, need to think how we should opt all this technology, do such experiment in your lab, in your books, which will make your life day-to-day easy. Like I may take example of Google Cloud, in which you have a lot of services available, which you can learn to do experiments to make products yourself. So this is how you can use the latest technology on AWS, Amazon, Azure, Google Cloud, so that this will give you the new dimension to thinking rather than just reading the book. So this is what my input to you, to read more these kind of technologies rather than just bookish knowledge. The second thing, important thing, I was reading a book, it was mentioned, the Maya. Maya means most advanced yet acceptable. It's a principle given by a scientist, a psychologist scientist, in which he was saying, whatever the technology you are working on, you need to ensure it's opted. It should be having all future-ready features, but so simple so that it should be opted by the end users. So keep all these 3-4 principles in mind whenever you are reading, when you are building anything or working on technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anil. You know, this concept you shared, Maya, is new for a lot of us, but I think we are in the era of Maya, of constantly experimenting and absorbing new technologies and making it acceptable at the shortest time cycle possible. So questions from the students.
Okay, so I'm Lakshay, I'm from batch 2024, and
You're even further from the future.
Yes, I am
Very
a
good.
bit of
Excellent.
futurist. My question is like kind of related to what Sir asked about the unemployment, like which we'll leave behind. But like my question is more related to the overpopulation, which is baffling our country, like from the roots. So I would like to ask that how can we collaborate Industry 4.0 and the overpopulation? Like we have, like I guess Amitabh Bachchan once said that we don't have 1.25 like billion people to feed when we have like 1.25 minds to feed. So how can we take
We'll ask the robots to take over and they'll take care of everything. So thank you for that thought, but I'm going to come to each of the panelists. And you know, we've had question on food technology, unemployment, future of technology, and request all of you to just respond in a minute, because this is a huge topic we cannot possibly cover. I'd like to finish this session in the next 5 minutes. So I'll request Suman and then Sahni, and then we'll go along the road. Suman, quickly, 1 minute, please.
Okay, so good questions. I'll take the questions of unemployment. Yes, it is a concern, no doubt about it, because most of the other industrial revolution had about a 20-25 years at least between when it became mainstream, and therefore the jobs that was lost because of the earlier skills had time, because you had at least about 2 generations, 1.5 generations to pick up. This one is happening possibly short of a generation. So suddenly you can't go back and tell 1.5 generation of people that, oops, you know, you fell in somewhere in the crevasse, and you know, we lost you, we will take care of your grandchildren. So there is a challenge, and that is the reason why economists are talking about, you know, direct benefit transfers. People are talking about just being who you are, you'll be paid money to, because there should be enough global surplus to take care of one set of people who would like to move, and would therefore be leaving their, as Pranjal says, their bullock carts and moving into driving cars. So they will be skilling themselves, and therefore they will be earning their livelihoods through their work. But then there is a set of people who, because of whatever reason, they're in the life and the story of life that they are in, they are left behind, they should be taken care of by the society. But the society should have therefore a larger base. So therefore this is an economics question more than a technology question. You can't answer this in a forum like this directly. Second part of it is on the food. As I said, India, if it saves 1/3 of the food that it wastes, it can feed the world. Forget what we have in the country, including us and the sub-Saharan Africa. So with that thought, I'll let it go to Sunand.
Thank you. Thank you, Suman.
I'll continue where Suman said about the wastage of food. as you're all many of you are students and you have access to internet, just go have a look at the state of play of how food moves in India from the farm to the mouth. And the wastage, which we, on a different context you and I were discussing yesterday, is look at just the availability of opportunity in the cold chain. If you could save fruit from the time of plucking to the time it reaches your table by simply creating a massive, massive, massive cold chain, it would be, the government's estimate is lakhs of crores of saving. And what he said, that's one. Two, this question, although Suman says it's an economic question, I have an answer which is somewhat like this. I think, and this is my thought, that I think in India, we have an entire generation which has grown up with low skills. The people have become cab drivers, they have become drivers of cars, etc. But their children, the ones who are now the young, they have access, believe it or not, thanks to COVID, the amount of access of smartphones and access to the digital age is absolutely amazing. The generation, you said 2024, the generation 25, 26 will be even more exciting. So, education, education, education. Population control, education.
I think that's a great point, Suni, for you, Vineet. Look, think about this also. Will you go to a swimming pool in a three-piece suit? Will you go to a sports stadium wearing black shoes, leather shoes? No. Why? Because you'll prepare for what you're getting into. You cannot wait and wonder and hope that the world is going to come and save you if you don't take the initiative first. If you think that you've got a degree and it's going to save you for the rest of your life, no. This is also going to be the age of constant learning. If you don't make yourself relevant, it's also your problem, not just everybody else's. But Vineet, please come in.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, my respect to 66 batch and 77 batch. Thank you for being here. And what we have just saw is 66 batch and 2024. We are addressing 58 years. That is 2 generations. One generation 30 साल की होती है. So we are, talking industry 4.0 in 2 generations. Questions are extremely relevant, and it takes me to the Newton's law. Everybody continues to be in the state of rest or motion until and unless acted upon by unbalanced external force. कुछ करेंगे तो कुछ होगा. You can't be static. We will do something. It will have reactions. And let me tell you, each country have their own problems. They have their own challenges, and we also have. There's no perfect country in the world. Nothing. The deeper you go internationally and you find that you are rightly placed to conquer. Challenges will be there, they are there. As you get into digital 4.0, job losses will be there. But then new jobs will also be created. How are we adapting ourselves to the changing situation? That is the key. All of you are engineers, but I'm sure you would have heard Darwin. It is not the strongest. It is not the fittest. It is the person who adapts to the change, they survive. Think about ourselves. Are we adapting to the change? If you get the answer as yes, you are part of the story. If you get the answer as no, you will be rejected by the system. I think this is the key for you, for me, for our respected 66 batch, 76. All of us have to keep changing, keep evolving, keep adapting to the situations that we are put into. Thanks.
Thank you, Vineet. Another way to say it, survival of the smartest. So don't wait for somebody else, take steps yourself. Chaudhary Sahab, over to you.
It's quite relevant question, and people have already answered about it. Definitely, India is having a population of 1.4 billion. The employment in formal sector is very less. People are employed in informal sector more. And with the COVID, informal sector is quite disturbed. A lot of things, job losses are there. But Industry 4, if we want to become a global economy, if we want to have a more GDP, if we want to have more resources, more money with us, then we have to go for new technology, new knowledge. So we have to set up, as somebody said, smart, everything is smart nowadays, smartphone, smart city, everything is smart. So you have to have latest technology. Somebody was asking Industry 5, yes, it is going to come. Work is already started on that. But we will definitely have job losses. There is nothing, nobody can say it is not there. It may lead to a social issue of people employed but underemployed. It may be issue of exploitation. There are many things which have to be thought of, and how we will keep engage these people in their work, because वो कहते खाली दिमाग शैतान का घर, तो somebody, they have to be engaged. Population control is need of the hour. We definitely it is required. So I hope that government is thinking on that two-child policy or something that will be there. But we cannot say that private sector, as you see recently in the COVID, every private company has, big companies who were in there, they have increased their wealth by multifold. It is, lot of things are happening, and money is shifted to the very few people, in few people hand. It happens in capital economy. It will keep on happening. It has its own advantage and disadvantages. From socialist to we are going to the total capitalist. So even the social job of government, even health, education, and which I think is more important. And as far as, because once a person becomes old after 60 years and after 70 years, there is no much social security left in the country. So it is a complex question, I have a lot of things, but we cannot avoid a growth on the basis of these issues. This has to be addressed by social scientists. They have to think, government has to think on those issues, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir. Anilji, one last minute and then we'll close.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So I think everybody has covered. When we talked about twofold agenda, one is the food, the second is unemployment. So of course, when we talk about food, if you see the yield which the farmer is doing today is not enough. And we are related to the farmer industry and helping farmers to improve the yield. So therefore, there are a lot of opportunity for you people to think a different lens, how you are building a platform to help farmers to improve their yield. And then the food supply chain, as somebody talked about the cold stores, right? There are a lot of opportunities available. So if I may talk about the opportunities, if we talk about from our era, for not that much. So these days, abundance of opportunities, we just need to see from the lens which we want to see it from. That is one. The second is when we talk about courage and curiosity. So the curiosity take us to the next level to achieve something more. So which is when we are interviewing people, we have seen they are coming from the very linear learning perspective, right? A completely waterfall model, how they have been taught, how they have been educated through books, but they are not talking about the challenges. They are not ready to learn new things. That's the mind block and the mindset of the people and the students which we have seen when we are interviewing people. Therefore, for you people to think the new dimension of education, opting technology, as I talked about in my previous points, and also curiosity. And somebody rightly mentioned the passion, the grit, and more important is adaptability. Adaptability to the change and adopting new technologies and how we are leveraging in our business and day-to-day scenario. You no need to think about industry. You just need to think about in your day-to-day scenario what you think can be enabled, which can benefit to the other population or more benefit, right? Technology from maybe the Google you may talked about. We can talk about AWS. What is your day-to-day problem? Like for example, these days the platforms are available where you no need to read books. You will just see the summary of books and that you can start with. There are a lot of other platforms available. If I may talk about the yield, so there are platforms available. We just need to scan the flower to see whether the flower is having adequate, the soil is having adequate NPK. So that is how you need to nurture your soil. Also, how you can improve your yield to improve the prosperity to the farmers. So that is, you need to think about food, you need to think about opportunities, you need to think about technology to the business.
Thank you. I think with this we will close, but please understand one fundamental fact, as all the esteemed speakers have said. It is here, it is growing, and it's moving at a very rapid pace. You can either sit and cry, or you can join and be part of it and be excited by what's going on. So I think the choice, a lot of the choice in my view, depends on all of us.
We would like to call Dr. Navneet Kumar Sharma and Dr. Yogesh Mishra to kindly present a memento to our esteemed panelists as a token of appreciation. Mr. Sunand Sharma. Mr. Pranjal Sharma. Mr. Suman Bose. Mr. Vineet Sahni. Mr. Anil Kakkar. Now we cordially invite Mr. Rajan Pandhi for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon once again. We are in this conference hall sitting young students, but the voice is very less. I once again say good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. That should be the spirit. As the world continues its fight against COVID-19, we are realizing the magnitude and scale of change required to find the new normal. The aim of making India independent of the global supply chain feels closer than ever before with Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. As visionary of the new India, we can all take some essential inputs to renew our narratives for change from today National Conference on Atmanirbhar Bharat, Industry 4.0, Making India Smart and Intelligent Manufacturing Hub. For this, I deeply thank our esteemed panelists and illustrious speakers for sparked and illuminating disclosure on the said theme. I'm sure you all agree with me, they deserve a big round of applause from all of us. I also did like to convey our sincere thanks to Dr. Navneet Kumar Sharma for being the guiding force behind the conception of this national conference. A big round of applause for Dr. Navneet Kumar Sharma also. Despite his hectic schedule, Dr. Sharma passionately extended his guidance every step of the day. Our great sincere thanks to Dr. S.K. Chaudhary for supporting this conference and standing firmly behind our vision. Thank you, Dr. S.K. Chaudhary, sir. We also convey our sincere thanks to Dr. Yogesh Mishra, President DMA, and Vice President Thomas Esmond for his continued support to promote such initiative, enabling DMA to maintain its sustenance as a premier management body. Thank you, Dr. Mishra. This event would not be possible without the support of our remarkable sponsors, IRCON and Semcon Casting Private Limited. Thank you, our sponsors. I thank our distinguished delegates and dear students for their presence and for connecting us with this conference. Lastly, I did like to acknowledge the efforts of my team at DMA and DTU-DCE Fraternity Forum for their assistance. With that, I wish you all a good and prosperous day ahead. Thank you.